Have the pressures of life stresses got you bogged down and depressed? Have you lost your hope to live purposefully? Are you in distress and life seems meaningless and troublesome? It's time to regain your mental wellness and receive power to thresh all anxiety. The IPA Threshing Flow Helpline is here for you. Join us on Hope 103.1 FM every other Thursday from 6 to 7 p.m. with me, your host, Bishop Esther Baptiste. Okay, greetings in the Trirune deity whose we are and whom we serve. We are grateful to have you join us wherever you're joining us from. Maybe it's in the diaspora, whatever time of the day, morning, noon, night. We are grateful for you joining with us here on the Threshing Flow Helpline. And of course, that's how we do it. We thresh anxiety. IPA Threshing Flow Helpline. So thank you for joining us this evening. Of course, we encourage you to share this video, share the live with somebody that is in your circle, because you need to hear that this is about mental wellness and taking it from the biblical perspective. And over the period, we have been really digging into a narrative, a book that has been written by Pastor Ruth on rape and sexual assault. So we are going to be continuing to give you good information, to help you thresh your anxiety, to help you deal with issues like that. And of course, joining us in studio right here again for the Threshing Flow Helpline is Pastor Ruth. But before we do that, we also want to encourage those of you that have been blessed by this program. You have been encouraged by the Threshing Flow Helpline and Hope FM as a whole. We will encourage you, to give your sponsorship to the program, donate, call, see what is needed, and of course, contribute wherever you can, because this is getting the word of God and the message of hope across nations, and you want to be part of this global experience, to partner with us to keep Hope FM on air. So thank you again for your sponsorship. And of course, we thank you for supporting the IPA Threshing Flow Helpline. Of course, we're going to dig straight into it because our time is of the essence. We like to say it that way. So let me give Pastor Ruth an opportunity to greet you as we continue this series on the book Fallen Princess.
Thank you, Bishop Esther. And, it's really wonderful to be here today. And I want to echo the sentiment when it comes to Hope FM offering us an opportunity to have literally 24 hours of worship and gospel, and so many lives are being changed by the entire programs of activities that Hope FM engages in. And we really want to really commend them tremendously, and also ask even the Christian community and the business community and persons within the societies, let's support our very own, because it's really reaching persons near and far. It's kind of like an evangelism tool.
Yes.
And we can become part of the process to advance the kingdom of God via radio, and in this case, radio and television, because we are also on YouTube. So again, we want to continue to just pipe through the Fallen Princess, bound only by silence, breaking the chains of sexual violence. And it is a reality that persons are living every single day. Today, we just want to talk a little bit about, part of the healing journey. And we will look at the story of Josie in chapter 23 for those persons who have the book. And those of you who do not have the book, it's a good time to get one, right? So maybe I'll just do a little reading at this stage, this story is very intriguing, but it highlights the essence of sometimes how we miss really important elements along the healing journey. And it's titled, How Can I Ever Get Rid of This Stink? Josie. When I entered my kitchen, a foul odor filled the air, reminiscent of rotten saltfish. I remember that I had prepared my favorite meal, provisions and saltfish, just a few days ago. So I began my search for the source of the smell. I spent days cleaning with bleach in the area where the scent was more potent. But every time I returned to that spot, the odor lingered just as intensely as it has been the first day. After 5 days of searching, my quest seemed fruitless. I became determined to find the source of this persistent smell. As I fixed on the thought of stink saltfish, focusing on potential sources that might involve saltfish, this preconceived notion distracted me from really identifying the true origin of the scent. Today, I meticulously examined every item in the vicinity of the odor, ensuring that I had not missed anything. Eventually, I targeted a tray of eggs on the counter. Still preoccupied with the idea of smelly codfish due to my recent meal, I continued my search. To my surprise, I discovered that one of the eggs in the tray had gone bad and had begun to produce worms. This was the root cause of my 5-day search for what I believe was smelly, salted codfish. The unpleasant odor I was detecting was not from saltfish at all, but from an egg that had spoiled. Reflecting on this experience, I began to see parallels with the impact of rape on survivors and the lessons I have learned from it. Preconceived notions about situations or people can hinder our ability to understand the truth. It is essential to remain open-minded and investigate without bias. Let me pause there.
This is an interesting, and this is grassroots, folks. This is happening in your kitchen.
This is Josie's story.
This is something that's happening experientially with somebody, and it reveals a powerful lesson. So let's talk about how do we identify the root cause of the scent. And of course, we are talking here in the context of rape, in the context of assault, in the context of your experience in those areas as well. But let's go to the egg and the codfish.
The bottom line of the story is that she went into the search for the scent that she was smelling with a preconceived notion as to what was the origin of the scent. And many a times, people go through rape and sexual assault, one way or the other. And what happened is that on the healing virtue, some people think about certain things. So, for instance, I might be going through the process of healing, but because I am thinking about something else, I am not able to understand. Say, for instance, you're in a situation, you're interacting with persons, and they're exhibiting different emotional, imbalances, and we assume we know what that person is going through. And for some people who might have gone through rape and sexual assault, they might immediately assume that a particular emotional behavior is related to something they know, right, or have seen before. Or they might misunderstand what they see for something else. And usually it comes from, a place of, I experienced that. So I tell myself, I know what that other person is experiencing. So this is something that is very serious, because even for persons who are experiencing the impact of rape and sexual assault, people assume that they know what's going on inside of them. They assume that they know what's going on with them. And sometimes we make judgments, sometimes incorrect judgment, about what is actually happening. And that can hinder the healing process, because when we make judgment, we assume that we are correct. Every time somebody makes a judgment, they assume that they are using the information that they have, which they assume is correct, to make a particular judgment. So for her, because she knew that she had cooked saltfish some days ago, as we say, codfish some days ago, and she started to smell it, and she assumed that the remaining, sometimes when you leave, cooked saltfish or raw exposed over a period of time, it tends to go bad. And so she was assuming that what she was actually smelling was related to what she had done some days ago. I could stay right there.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Not to stick up in there. Yeah. Because you use two principles or two ideas there that clouds, our ability to find the root cause.
The root cause.
Assumptions, right? Because you're basically saying that people just judge based on what they see. And then you're saying that what we see sometimes exhibited on the outside is not the cause, right? And of course, preconceived ideas assumptions and preconceived ideas because she think, well, days ago I cooked this, so it must have been that, right? And then that cloud her vision as to finding the real source because
Right.
you're looking for saltfish.
Right.
You would not find egg.
Right.
See?
And you want to solve first. Find salvage in the egg tree.
In the
But,
egg
you know,
tree.
it's very serious because you be engaged with people along, maybe at work, maybe at church, and some people might be, as you say, rough, or they might just be, as we call, as you say, we might say that person piggish, or that person rude, or that person is insubordinate, or we tend to say based on the interaction with the person
Right.
that they are something that really they are not. And sometimes it's hard for persons to stop a while to find out from the individual exactly what they're going through instead of making judgments. So even as a leader or a pastor, we may have people within the context of our congregation, and they may be having a hard time at home, or they may be having a hard time with something that they've been through, or they might have had a hard time with abuse one way or the other, or maybe in a way they don't think that people really like them because of what they've been through. And they might come into the context of the church, for example, and they might be, people say they're searching for attention. You
Right.
know, and in a vast majority of cases, not so much that they're searching for attention, more than they are trying to hide sometimes the things
Right.
that they feel on the inside. So if we are accustomed to judging people because someone else was rude, if you see that similar behavior exhibited, we assume that that person is also rude.
Right.
So it's about stopping a while, and it's about understanding what is going on with that person on the inside. It's about going past sometimes our own ego, because I say I'm the pastor, and you know, and this person is rude to me. I mean, how dare that person could be rude to me? But I forget to go beyond the person's external. You know, like I met a young lady who I have to deal with, you know, on a regular basis, and she's very, very rough. Like the way she talks, the way almost as she's trying a great effort to prevent persons from coming close.
But
So
see,
immediately I
sometimes the
saw
problem
that.
with that is that it looks like the character of the person.
Right. So sometimes it's difficult to decipher. Right. So I said to her one time, I called her and I said, what's really going on with you? I say, I know I know you did this and you did this. I know the kind of person you are. I see the kind of circles you are on. I know that you're a good person. So why is it that you're trying your best to push people away? That's what I asked her. So we started to talk, and when she revealed her story, I was like, oh my God, that's exactly why. She's very soft on the inside, very kind. She said to me, I am a soursop. I am very rough on the outside, but I'm soft on the inside. And it's because of something that she has gone through. Hers was not like a sexual experience, but it was a traumatic experience, you know, and it just kind of helped us to understand, let's stop judging persons from the outside. And let's, even by the Spirit of God, might be able to discern that that person might be hurting, that person might be broken, that person might be going through something that they themselves cannot define.
Right.
You know, so if we come with preconceived notion about what we think is wrong with the person, whether they're rude and they have attitude, and some people say, especially in the church, that person's attitude, I don't have nothing to do with them. Where did the attitude come from? What's going on with them? Have you stopped to find out, you know, what's going on before you make a judgment? And I think this is what this story is trying to depict.
Because I think in a lot of ways, as we're looking at judgment, I mean, sometimes we will say, don't make the judgment, but let's put it a different way, because the judgment that we are making has to lead to some kind of solution. So because you have to pay attention to what you're seeing, right? So rather than judge what you're seeing, and as we say, by our own preconceptions, we have to use the cues that we are seeing as a judgment in itself to say, well, this person is going through something because this is out of character, or this may not be. I just always say it like this, you know, we hiding our identity because this is not truly who we are, but because of circumstances we have to become something else so that we can hide the trauma, we can hide the pain, we can hide the issues, but somebody has to spot it out. So in a sense we have to judge, okay? In a sense we have to judge what the person is saying, right? So
but let's pause. Let's maybe we could look at it this way. It's when the judgment is what is an issue, because sometimes we judge without adequate information. So it's like we make the judgment because of our biases, because of
Right.
what we know, like in other cases. But every individual is different, and it is not like someone is deliberately trying to hide anything.
Right.
It's like it's almost an unconscious covering of the feelings and the emotions, and maybe they're just trying to deal within themselves what they're actually feeling.
Right.
And for some persons who did not even know that what they're feeling is connected to what they've been through, that's another thing. Because a lot of times persons go through things like, say you went through 6 years, 5 years, 10 years, when you were that age, you don't know that the emotional turmoil that you're feeling right now is even related to something that you've been through. So as a result of that, there's a kind of confusion, because they know they feel a particular way on the inside, but they are not connecting it. So that's one of the steps
Right.
that we do, trying to help
Yes.
people on the healing journey, is to connect the issue with the emotion.
'Cause I think,
and that is
yeah,
a good step, a good
I
place
think
to
a lot
start.
of ways that even the person, as you say, the person who's actually going through the experience is changing in so many ways that they don't even realize, right? And then, of course, you say people judge you, but that's what you are. Okay, that's what you're depicting. That's what you're living out. This kind of behavior, like you said, the person might be overly kind of just rough, or some people may go the opposite. They might be
Completely
like
quiet.
a chameleon.
Yeah,
It's like
completely quiet,
you were
yeah.
you're just cracking jokes. Because this is a way to distract. So we want to talk about these subliminal messages that we cannot ignore, but we want to identify them, not just the other people on the outside, but the person who's going through this situation must be able to identify, this is not really me, right? I'm not a jovial person. Naturally, you
But
just
for some
wanna-
people,
yeah.
the thing happened so long,
Yeah.
so they have even
Disconnected,
missed, right?
yes.
They have even missed the who they were before the thing happened, right? So some people are not able to scale. Okay, this is what I used to be before it happened. If it happened in adulthood or something, maybe they might make. But a lot of the times, these cases of rape and sexual assault happens to individuals when they are quite young,
Right.
when they are quite innocent, so to speak, when they have not yet discovered themselves. So for them, they think that is their natural personality.
Right.
So at the end of the
So
day,
it's a default
it's kind of like a
personality.
default
Yeah, that's
personality.
what I'm saying.
Until you go through the process of healing, until you begin to understand. In this case, the story is that she had the scent. She knew around where it was, but she had no idea of exactly where it is. But
Right.
what she did, she relied on previous information that was
To track
incorrect,
it.
so that threw her off track. But she continued to search. She went through a whole 5 days. It's like she didn't give up searching. And I think that is a good, like, you don't give up trying to find the
who you-
healing,
right.
trying to find wholeness. And sometimes you go through a whole mirage of things that kind of throw you off course, and you're thinking it's somewhere else. It happens even in the medical field. You have certain symptoms and you think it's
Right.
this,
And
and
you
then
have to
something
find
else
the
is
root
something
cause.
else. So the importance of thorough introspection is very important for persons who have experienced rape and sexual assault, or even persons who know persons who have. The importance of thorough introspection, the diligent search for the source of the smell, highlights the importance of thoroughness and attention to details in problem solving. In various aspects of life, especially when addressing serious issues, taking the time to explore all possibilities, right, is very, very crucial.
And this speaks to, I remember some years ago, where we went through like our lives and look at areas in our lives.
Go
Like
back
we
to the
talk about
past.
Go back to the past.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we focus on people, like this one hurt me, that one hurt me, but we don't realize that the brokenness is on the inside of us. So people are just touching those tough spots. People are just, the triggers are out there, and we tend to focus on, this person has done me that person has done me that. But when we take a look at ourselves, why is this thing hurting me so much? Why is this, what this person said or done is having such an effect on me, right? And that may not be an external thing, that might be internal. So sometimes we have to go back to our childhood. And you said this happens a lot of times in childhood, that we, by default, develop certain coping mechanisms, strategies, for us to be able to deal with things as we go along, because nobody took time to sit with us, to counsel us through, to help us understand why did this trauma happen, what happened, or even to be aware that anything has happened in the first
So
place.
the diligent search is what's important. You know, when we were growing up and you had a bus tour, as they will say.
Yeah, well,
And they
that
say-
happened to me. Right? That was my narrative.
And they say, and they will tell you, the people, you should tie a string on the bus toe, because the fact that you have this bus toe means that the toe is blind. And in essence, it's like if you were to have an injury, you would tend to bounce that toe over and over and over. And not because you did not bounce your toe before, but the toe, it wasn't painful. So you are able to feel the pain when you make contact with whatever.
Already wounded, yeah.
I remember having a bus, so you bounce in the chair, you bounce in the table, you bounce in people, you bounce in everything. And it's symbolic of the hurt and pain. It's like you interact with people on a daily basis, and the hurt that is inside of you, right, becomes a bounce toe. It touches people, the way they talk. Sometimes even somebody might just look at you. I was at a function yesterday, and I was just looking at this gentleman. He was like, "Why are you looking at me like that? Why are you looking at me like that?" It's like, "Why am I looking at you like what?" You know. So he's like, he's thinking I am somehow reading his mind or
Right.
something like that. You know, and you know that has nothing to do with me, because honestly, I wasn't really looking at him like that.
Right.
I was just looking in his direction, and as a result of that, he become conscious. Why is he conscious? Because he's in his mind, he's thinking that I'm seeing something maybe he doesn't want me to see. You know,
Right.
so that is the essence of how hot people tend to behave. You think everybody who's talking in someone else's ear is talking a secret about you. You think, you know, that if somebody behave in a certain way, it is about you. So as long as the hurt is present, the focus always is on the bus toe, is always on the individual.
The injury, right.
You know, but once the healing starts to take place, as you begin to look inside yourself, like you were saying earlier on, if you're able to look inside yourself and to be able to see why, well, if I'm looking at you, why is that a problem? You know, as if, I remember her co-worker, he used to be dressing all strange how. He have on the wrong tie, with the wrong belt, with the wrong shirt. He always has something that mismatched. And every time I would see him, I would be so infused. And then he found out that it infuriated me. So he went on the extreme so that he will infuriate me every single day. And then one day I asked myself, well, wow, if you want to wear your old shoe and your old belt and you want to mismatch your shirt and your pants, why is that a problem for me? Like, why is it that I take this on as a case? And the minute I decided, well, wear your old shoe, I can't be bothered, he started to dress differently because it no longer bugged me. And he was enjoying the fact that his mismatches bugged me, you know. So sometimes that is how we interact with persons. We are the one who are hurting. We are the one who went through whatever we went through. And then we kind of push it on the other person. You did that to me. But if you did that, why does that bother me so much? So that may be one of the first questions individual can ask.
Yes.
That will enable them to be able to walk the journey of healing, because you take personal responsibility for how you feel, you know. And at the end of the day, the stink is in your vicinity.
Right.
So as
Created
long
by
as
you anyway.
and right, and it was you created this thing, or it
Created
was
by
done
you,
to you,
yeah.
right? So if in order for you to be able to address it, you have to diligently search, go past the biases, go past what people say or what people think, well, you know, and then begin to search. So she was searching and she searched. So the first thing is the importance of introspection, looking
Right,
on the
searching, yeah.
inside, taking personal responsibility for your emotion. That's what emotional intelligence really conceptualizes.
Right.
It's about understanding how you feel, what emotions you are going through, but it's also understanding what the other person's emotion
Because,
is.
you know, it's
Yeah.
our human nature as well to pass the buck, right?
Right.
Because we don't want to deal with ourselves. So it's always, the brooding is always, why am I being treated this way? Why do I have to go through this?
Why is it that people don't like
Why
me?
is it that people don't like me? Why is it that, you know, I have to face this or that? And because our natural tendency is to, you know, brood and pass the buck, so to speak, we always look to blame the other person, right, for that incident or whatever we think has offended us or has caused, you know, a button to click off inside of us. So I think it's important as well to be aware that you're not just trying to look for excuses to get yourself justified, so to speak, but that you're looking to see, well, these are genuine issues that I have to look to see whether they fit, whether, as you're saying, it's my problem or it's, external to me. So I think that's a very critical point.
And
that's a hard point to
it is, and
to
to ask someone to take personal responsibility for their own healing it might seem like an unfair, because sometimes the person who would have harmed that person is no longer alive, or the person might not care, or they might not be in a position to do anything about it. So you have two options. You can decide to continue to brood over it, to hate that person, to to die, to literally die from the inside. Or you can decide, you know what? This is what has happened to me. Now I must take personal responsibility for life. So maybe that will help you to reach out to somebody. That will help you to seek help one way or the other. So that understand that it's a struggle. I feel a particular way. That's if they're able to understand. Because remember we spoke earlier about how the mind completely changes because of abuse. So sometimes people are not able to rationalize in that way. But it's important to have thorough introspection. Also, preconceived notions are very misleading, right? So just as how she thought that the smell, it had to be a prolonged search, having preconceived notion about situations or people can prevent us from understanding the truth. It is essential to remain open-minded and to investigate without bias.
Right. And of course, the preconceived ideas, what will have to happen in that sense is that you'll have to reshape your knowledge base, all right? Because you cannot just keep going on all information.
Right.
Because that is a mistake. You're searching. You're in the process of searching. It's not like you're being lazy and you're sitting down, but because you do not have the right information going forward, or your vision, your mind is clouded by wrong facts,
Or biases. And one
data.
One of the powerful thing about bias is that that people have the tendency to interpret information in a way that aligns to the existing belief. So because you believe something, right? It's like you already believe that to be true.
Right.
So no matter what the person tells you, you
Shapes your
already believe
paradigm.
it doesn't shift because you already have a preconceived notion
So
about
changing
what this thing
paradigm is
so
the way
that's
to go
important.
here, an open-minded approach. So you have to kind of sometimes submit, what you have already know about the situation or what you believe about the situation, so that you can frame your belief system in a different way. Because when she discovered the real source, our belief system changed.
Right.
Because it was no longer what she was envisioning as a problem.
Yeah, and each of us have to
And
realize.
that's what helps you find the problem. Right?
Yeah, each of us have to realize also that we have biases.
Well,
And we have to be aware of our own biases. You understand? Just because you did not go through a terrible time doesn't mean that somebody else, or just because you got over what you've been through doesn't mean that somebody else will have that same kind of experience. So it's about being cognizant of the fact that we are all, in a way, bias. Sometimes we call it the confirmation bias. It's like you see something, and because you already believe it, it seems like there evidence to that effect.
Right.
You understand? So it's like you
Like
confirm it. What
if
I
the-
believe
if
is
the,
indeed
if the
true.
fowl, sucking egg and you miss an egg, you think.
Right. You think it's that right?
So the first point is
Dog
to
sucking.
do an introspection, right?
Right. So introspection is key.
Right. And then the second notion is
Is to
deal with the preconceived.
Understand that preconceived
Right.
notions are misleading, right? And also to be aware that we all have biases. And so that diligent search for the source of the smell highlights the importance of thoroughness, attention to detail in problem solving in various aspects of life, especially when addressing serious issues. And understanding that some issues take time, right? So
Right.
that we have to take time also to explore multiple possibilities. Right.
Just like she
That she
did all
continued
that
to
she
search
can.
because she was
Right.
the scent did not go away. right? Just because you are such and such, and
Searching.
the scent did not go away, so it still affected her. It still consumed the entire kitchen. It's like anybody will walk in, and sometimes when we have issues, people walk into the issues. We go to relationships, we
Right.
meet people, and the stench is spreading, so to speak,
Yeah.
because everyone comes in, they can smell that something is wrong in the kitchen, and she's not able to tell them.
What it
Okay,
is.
she thinks it's thing selfish, or she think is, but in truth and in fact, it's quite something
Right.
else. So even people experience with us, and sometimes we go through cycles of this and that, but it's understanding that as long as we do not get to the root cause of what has happened, the scent
will not
will
get,
still
yeah.
remain. She was
But-
cleaning.
but that's-
She
that's
had efforts,
interesting. That's
she was
interesting.
cleaning. She had Clorox or
Yeah.
bleach or whatever. She had, she spent time. She cleaned the entire house was clean. But the scent still remained. And
Because they
why
didn't
did the
find
scent
it.
remain? Because she was stuck on her preconceived notion that it was actually the saltfish she had cooked some days ago,
Yeah.
and had no idea that it came from a completely different source. That is like, whoa.
But another thing I see here that we can interject here is the idea that while she's searching, right, and she's looking for the scent, cleaning all the house, means that she would have temporarily camouflaged the scent. So, say
Right.
for example, you're using Clorox, right? In the moment, you're smelling the Clorox, you're smelling the disinfectant,
Yeah, the bleach,
right?
whatever.
Whatever, and you think that the scent has gone away
Yes.
because
Yes.
you mop the floor and you sweep the house, that you think that it has gone away because you're clouding it with a temporary band-aid, so to speak. And then you realize when everything is quiet back down, you come back. But that could be a source of frustration, and it could also be another source of drama.
Right. Because you think you make so much effort,
Yes.
and nobody said you didn't do everything you could have
Yeah.
done. Because what she was doing is just trying to search and
Search and
eliminate
search.
as much as possible. But it's not possible to mask the feelings and the emotions.
Right.
They will come out one way or the other. So some people use the excellent performance. Some people, hinge on the fact that they have a big job or they have good ratings, maybe, some political accolades or whatever. And at the end of the day, it's like people
Back to
tend
square
to
one.
want to,
Yeah.
to want to soak, their issues with performance, or
Yes.
for some people they dress well, or they have the latest brand, or they
If
have
I
the
do
nice
this
car,
and if I do
or they have.
that,
So it's like if you
yeah.
do what and what, then it will go away. But when you go home and you're all by yourself, the stench comes back.
And
That
that
is
is
like,
the- sometimes
whoa.
that is- could
and
be
that
a
becomes
cycle
because what
in
what can
itself,
I
yeah.
do? Because no matter what I've done, it's like I still can't get
Still
rid
can't
of
do
this
it.
thing.
Yes.
And that's what
Yeah.
this
And-
chapter
and so
is
we
really
want to
about.
warn people about that process, because unless you find the source, the
No
problem
matter what
will
you do.
continue. Or if you look at it in medical terms, if you drink the wrong medicine, it might create a secondary side effect,
Right,
and you still
right.
have not gotten rid of the first. So you
So
might
it's
have
about
to go
getting
back
to
to
the
the
root
pharmacy,
cause.
right?
Yeah, it's about getting to the root cause.
Go back to to deal. This didn't work, so let's try this. So we want to encourage folks, unless you find the root, if the problem persists, you have not found the root cause.
Right. So you keep
Right?
searching.
You
Keep
keep
searching. So
searching.
that the third thing is acknowledging the hidden issues.
Right.
Now the hidden egg that caused the odor maybe can serve as a metaphor for underlying issues that may not be immediately visible.
Right.
Right. Just as the rotten egg went unnoticed, deeper emotional and psychological wounds, such as those experienced by survivors of trauma, may require careful examination to address.
Yeah.
So it's like the thing is there.
But-
It is there,
but, yeah.
but you just can't. You can't put your finger
She
on
problem
it like
is
some
that
people will
she
say.
didn't make egg for breakfast.
Right. And just because she didn't make egg, and probably for that 4 or 5 days,
For 5 days she eat egg.
she had probably going to the church, she might have understood.
Yeah.
But she was so consumed with the fact that
Yeah.
it was the saltfish that she didn't even think it could have been something
something
else.
else.
You were so consumed with the fact that it could be this thing, you don't even think that it could be something else.
Right.
So consumed with the fact that the person is rude and insolent that you didn't even realize that the person is actually hurting.
Yes.
So I think that is the, acknowledging that hidden issues, right, can cause underlying issues, things at the bottom. And as leaders, we have to be able to get to the bottom of people's issue before we think about them disrespecting us. What is really going on with that individual? Must be the first question we have to ask, because
Good.
this does not seem too normal. And then we talk about persistence paying off. Right, so the determination to find the source of the smell. She did not give up. Every day she woke mind you, while she's looking for the stent, other areas are being cleaned.
Exposed, right.
Other areas
Well,
are
that's
being
the
addressed.
advantage,
Other
yeah.
things are being so there is no lack in walking
no
through the healing
fault,
process,
yeah.
because even if you don't get to the source of the issue, other areas are being
productive
addressed as well.
process,
So she
yes.
ended up with a really, really clean kitchen, but until
One
she found the
cent
scent. Right. So persistence pays off, right?
Right.
In the face of challenges, continuing to work or to seek the truth and understanding can lead to new discoveries and lasting resolution. Sometimes investigation must shift to the person in the mirror.
Wow.
We're talking about interest, looking inside of yourself. So maybe the problem is not the people at the workplace after all. Maybe the problem is not the church people, not the people in the community, or
Yeah.
not because people who have issues,
Half
like
of the
if you
time it's
know
you,
the
yes.
sting cheese
Half of the times.
principle, like it is smelling everywhere you go. I could go past a sting cheese, and I could go. I remember a lady long ago when we were growing up. She had she passed in a dog poop while she was on the outside, and she came into the church. And she was like, oh my God, she was smelling the thing so strong. She was moving from one chair to the other. And she was complaining, oh my God, like the place is so stink. She went to one corner. And then after a while, she probably thought and just looked under her foot. And by this time, she had
Spread it all
spread
over.
it all out too. Because she forgot to look at herself first. So if she had looked under her shoe first before she thought it was someone else that brought it in, then it might not have spread. And sometimes our emotional turmoil ended up like destroying relationships, destroying people. That's why they
Yes.
say hurt people,
Hurting
people,
people, yeah.
hurting people, hurt people. At the end of the day, if you look inside, and continue to look inside, ask God sometimes for wisdom as the Lord, what is going on with me? Why am I like that? But if we look at ourselves, we will start. It's a good place to start. If you
Yes.
keep passing the blame on other people, you may never find the true things.
And sometimes you have to, allow people to help you as well.
Yeah.
Because somebody might say, I find you this or I find you that. I mean, may not be the best solution, but you could also have people help you along as well. And of course, sometimes there are areas in your life that you need a divine intervention in terms of, I remember some people will tell stories where they had a dream where they were in such a house when they were small. And of course, they never in their mind know that, or maybe it's their spouse or somebody else. And they remember going here and going here. And when they ask about the specific thing, you realize there was such a place like that.
Right.
And sometimes God could give you
Holy Spirit,
revelations in your own life where you never knew because you were too small to contain the memory of it. And then God bring you back in a dream, in a vision of some area that you was when you were small. And of course, when you investigate, there was such an area, right?
And that
so
could be the beginning
helps
of the healing process.
Go back, because sometimes you need a word of knowledge. Sometimes you need a revelation to find the stench.
Yeah. So we talked about recognizing the impact of past experiences. She was stuck on the selfish experience, right? So the incident illustrates how past experiences, such as preparing the selfish or the dish, can shape our perception and reaction. Understanding how our past shape our present responses can lead to greater self-awareness and healing.
I mean, for those of you that may not be in the Caribbean, saltfish is basically, fish dried and preserved with salt. Okay, so it creates a different appearance of the fish, and it makes a very beautiful.
It's like
cuisine,
preserved
right?
with salt. Yes. That's good. Right. So going back to the past also allows you to be able to, understand that your past experience, because she knew she had that meal prepared. She knew she had interacted with the surface. So it became like the only option, the only viable option of what might have caused the stench. So that's understanding of that our past experiences do have a great impact on our lives.
Yes.
To all survivors, your journey is uniquely yours, and the strength you possess is remarkable. Remember that healing takes time, and it's okay to seek help along the way. You're not alone, and your feelings are valid. Embrace your resilience and trust that the brighter days are ahead. Every step you take, no matter how small, is a testament to your courage, because some people didn't make it. Some people decided to call it quits. Some people gave up. Some people, took their own lives. But you are here. Even if you're still hurting, you're still broken. Just remember, your feelings are valid. You did go through that. You are experiencing what you're experiencing. Nobody can say, oh, you're not feeling.
Right.
Even if it was a long time ago, your feelings are still valid. And for you to be able to interrogate, why am I feeling so empty, so broken, so naked, so, so stink in this case? Why do I feel like I don't want people to touch me? I don't want to be around. Like all of those things, you're able to look at yourself and say, why do I feel the way I feel? That might be the beginning. You feel it, that nobody can tell you, well, it's time to give up. Like sometimes when someone dies, people want to tell you, well, the person died since 10 years ago. You're still crying about that. People want to determine,
How long you
the
stay in
thing
the
about people,
trauma.
they want to determine when you get married, how many children you have. They want to determine when
They want to work out your whole
should
life
reach,
for you,
they want to
yes.
work out your entire life, without even making a single contribution to it, At the end of the day, you feel what you feel, but you don't have to stay in that stink for long. Begin to see it, begin to own it, begin to be willing to give it up. I think it's the beginning of the place. So to those working with survivors, because some people are not survivors, but they feel the pain of the person who was a survivor. Your role is vital. Your role is very impactful.
Find community.
Right? Providing a safe space, listening without judgment, and offering support can make a world of difference. Remember to practice self-care. For the persons who are helping other people, they can tend to imbibe all the emotions, and they too can struggle because they are so close to the persons who are walking the healing journey. So remember to practice self-care. Take care of yourself. Rest, eat well, and as this work, it can be really emotionally demanding. So your empathy and understanding can empower survivors, and your commitment to the healing journey is invaluable. So continue to believe in their strength and potential, and recognize that your effort contributes to their recovery and restoration. Together, you can foster hope and resilience. So for those working with survivors, you are amazing, because then you have to take on the brunt of their feelings, and sometimes they change on you. Sometimes they feel good today, sometimes they want to walk, sometimes they don't want to walk. So the person who is experiencing that also can go through this emotional roller coaster, so to speak. So remember, you're also walking with the journey. You become a part of the whole process. Take care of yourself, right? Take care of yourself. And as we conclude, I think we quickly run out of time. Sometimes, now that the scent is gone, she's found the egg, she's found the tree, right? And she realizes that the source of her stench was not what she thought it was, and then she's looking at the kitchen. It's really clean and tidy, but she says, sometimes I still catch a whiff of the foul scent when I pass by the corner. And I understand now that it is just my mind playing tricks on me. I have diligently removed the source of the smell, and I refuse to let it control my thoughts any longer. I remind myself that what I perceive is no longer there. It is a memory, not a reality.
That's a critical point. That's a critical point.
Almost
right
like they say,
there.
when a limb is amputated, there is a sense that the limb still exists. And sometimes even persons walking through the healing journey, it's like they know they make like tremendous milestones, but sometimes they can feel like they're going back and forth. Sometimes they can feel like they're going back to square one, as we will say. And some days they feel like, like I haven't made no progress. I don't know what. And like they went through that whole thought. But understanding that even if she still smells, it's almost like in her mind, like the scent, because she searched so long for that scent. No, the mind doesn't want to let go of the fact that it is gone, And so the pain is gone. You no longer feel it, but sometimes, there is a whiff, she said, like a semblance of the thing coming back.
Yeah.
And I was talking to a young lady 2 days ago, and she was telling me, she's thinking about walking on a particular change journey. And she said to me, change is something that is difficult, but needs persistence. So it's like she said she have to deliberately make decision in the direction of the change every single day.
That's a good
And
point.
as we were talking about it, it just kind of hit me, because if you don't make
it's
that
habits.
decision, because
Yeah.
I remember you're
The
coming to a
brain
place where you
forms
used to do
habits.
something, one thing, you used to feel a particular way, and every day you have to decide. She was saying every day you have to decide that this is the change. I'm going to be consistent with that change. And then there comes a time when the change when the change becomes the norm.
The norm, right?
Hey God, when she
Because-
said
and that's how
that
we
just
work.
like if
Yeah.
you don't persistently make the decision in the direction of a change, then change would not believe that you want to change.
True.
Yeah, because if one day you say do it, the next day you say do, you kind of confuse change, and change say no, that one ain't serious. When it's all said and done, change entrusts you because change don't think you really want to
And
change.
change is going to run away.
Right, so change wants to run
Change
away.
is
Change
gonna
say no. But if you consistently make decision in the vicinity of the change, we will understand that change will become the norm sooner or later. So sometimes she still feels it. So she said, no, I have chosen to focus on the lessons learned rather than the lingering echoes of that experience.
good perspective,
The scent is gone. It no longer have power over me. I will speak truth in my mind until it believes that the reality I embrace is rooted in the present, not in the past. This journey has taught me, she was saying, I am determined to keep my thoughts aligned with the truth of my healing. My mind will no longer dwell on the amputated scent. Instead, I will celebrate the strength I have gained from moving forward.
Yes, and this is a good place to wrap up because, we have to begin to understand that what we're trying to achieve here is healing. We're trying to achieve, from your trauma, from all the experience of having to search and having to deal with all these failures, not finding how you change your life and how you adjust yourself to experience life to the fullest. And that in itself can be a trauma. And we understand that as you come to the point of realizing that this is an intentional effort, and of course it's going to yield results. And we're not promising it's going to be an easy process, but we are saying it is going to be a rewarding process. If you understand all that we have shared with you this evening, and for those of you who might be there, you might be listening in on this program, some things resonate with you because you've faced this kind of situation before. But we want to allow you to understand that hope can come to you if you follow some of the principles that we shared in this book. And of course, you can get a copy of the book. You want a resource like that so that you can have time to imbibe on this material, read it over, work with it as you go through the different levels and stages. So before we wrap up, we want to give you an opportunity to introspect, to come to the point where, I am going to intentionally search for my hidden stitched, the things that have, caused my life to be disrupted. And of course, I'm going to walk through that process of healing. If you're in your couch somewhere, and if you're in your car, wherever you are, and you're hearing this program, you're listening onto this program, of course, we want you to join with us again here before we wrap up for a time of prayer, because it begins at the point of prayer where we lay everything on with God, and He takes us through the process. What do we need to? Sometimes it's strategic. It may not be a one-size-fits-all. Your strategy for your healing and deliverance might look very different to another person. So as we wrap up, we want to pray with you, and we want to also allow you to have this resource. So of course you can call Pastor Ruth. We'll share the number with you again, or you can call into the radio station, Hope 103.1 or 94.1 in the frequency of FM, and of course we're going to have this information released to you, how you can get this book.
Okay, so my number is 417-8112, 417-8112. And, we're just going to pray. Father, we thank you for this time that we have together. And we know that persons near and far will be listening to this program. And the stench represents trauma, represents hurt, represents pain. And sometimes people search without some end, search without allowing themselves to be able to understand that the thing exists somewhere. It might be deep, it might be a long time ago, it might have been, something they want to forget or actually forgot. No, but it's still smells up the life. It still, releases a kind of stench to the persons. That's why they may feel that they're not loved, that people do not like them. They don't, they don't want people, don't want them to be around. It's literally the stench of the healing coming through. And for those who have not yet learned how to search and how to, to look diligently until it is found. And that, Josie, she wasn't giving up. She was just looking because she could not live with, until we come to the place or the point where we cannot live with it anymore. Not that for some people want to take themselves out, but want to find out what, why, how, what can I do, and really walk the journey of healing. Getting rid of the thinking it's my parents, it's my mother, it's my father. That's why I am what I am, but not understanding that whatever is done within me, how I imbibe it, how it affected me, is the real issues, and that because something has happened that I was not aware of or whatever. But I pray that you will help somebody. Lord, help somebody right now who is battling with emotional frustration. You're trying to find the root cause. Some people who feel like they're going crazy. Why do I feel the way I do? Why can I not be happy? Why can I not be help them to see, God, that if they just stop for a while, look themselves in the mirror, they can seek you, they can ask you, Lord, what's going on with me? Why do I feel the way I feel? And God, you will answer, you will send someone, Lord, that they will continue to interrogate, go past their biases, that they will allow, Lord, the essence of what healing is to come inside of them. Be willing to give up. Some people don't want to give up their stench. They don't want to give up their trauma. Some people use it as a crutch, as a excuse, as a, whatever. Pray that God, you bring healing to someone. Someone right now is watching who has been battling all day. Lord, may they find the hope that they need. May they find the strength that they need. May they know that they're strong enough just to be here, just to be able to endure the things that they endured over the past couple of years. Is a strength enough they could celebrate, and that they will continue to search until they found the real cause of the issue. And that is the beginning of the healing process. Being willing to give it up, being willing to decide, you know what, I want my life back. No matter, be forgiving, you're willing to forgive, because it's a good place to start. As long as we hold people up, as long as we hate, then the stench becomes even more. We poison love relationship, we poison family, we poison children, just by virtue of the stench that we embed. But Father, I pray that your healing virtue will flow to someone even now. And we declare that this program will become the beginning of a journey for someone, Lord, who will find healing and who will find deliverance and who will ultimately decide, you know what, I know the stench is gone. You're not going to trick me any longer to believing that it's still there. And then, God, they will be able to walk not for themselves alone, but also bring others into healing. Thank you for this program. Thank you for Hope FM. Thank you for persons watching. And I pray that you'll continue to minister grace, even as we go week by week. May this program find a place, be a place for someone to find deliverance. In Jesus' name, there is life after trauma, and we can be whole because, God, you came to set the captive free. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen, amen. And if you just pray that prayer, we know that deliverance has started, and we want you to continue to tune in to Hope 103.1, 94.1, whichever frequency works for you. And of course, we are going to be joining you again for another episode of Threshing Through Helpline. Until then, may the Lord bless you so tremendously and have yourself a wonderful rest of the week.
Amen.
Have the pressures of life stressors got you bogged down and depressed? Have you lost your hope to live purposefully? Are you in distress and life seems meaningless and troublesome? It's time to regain your mental wellness and receive power to thresh all anxiety. The IPA Threshing Flow Helpline is here for you. Join us on Hope 103.1 FM every other Thursday from 6 to 7 p.m. with me, your host, Bishop Esther Baptiste.